Hey, what's up? This is the Ant-Man channel, and it is Monday, the 7th of October 2013. Welcome to my channel. If this has been your first time here, hit the subscribe button. I cover real news. Uh, you know, why watch CNN? Anyways, I have a report in front of me from ClashDaily.com. It is called Geronimo, Darwin's Blind Leap. Now, I've had this up for 3 days. I haven't had a chance to read it, but it's by Wes Walker. And let me just get into it. Atheists critical of blind faith Christianity have a valid point. If Christians make claims that our beliefs are anchored in reality, space, and time, we need to back them up with rational explanations. If we fail to do that, we can be ignored or dismissed. But that cuts both ways. Why should their claims be allowed to rest on blind faith? If we raise rational objections to their position, atheists need to defend it. Just as they challenged biblical authority, we should challenge Darwin's. If the atheists can give us a rational... Excuse me, I drank coffee and now I'm just burping everywhere. If the atheists can't give us a rational answer to honest questions, we are not obligated to believe your claims either. Hey, but like Richard Dawkins says, if anyone claims to not believe in evolution, I have to say that they're ignorant and stupid and this and that. So tolerant of you. Well, an antagonist, or an agnostic antagonist, where I am agnostic, instead of a Christian, evolutionary theory would still have enough serious deficiencies that I could not accept it. First, there's the question of motive. Atheism has elevated Darwin to a cult figure. As a Christian, I wouldn't care if God had used evolution to create. There are, after all, religiously orthodox theistic evolutionists. But since Darwin has made it possible to be an intellectually fulfilled atheist, the stakes for the other side are obviously high. If they are so committed to their no-God hypothesis, they would need an alternative origin story. Many, like Dr. Nagel, want atheism to be true. So bad, I know. Ideas are like jigsaw puzzle pieces. The right true ones will fit nearly in place with everything around it. The wrong false one can be hit, pressed and forced into place, but in the end won't line up with the big picture. That's my problem with Darwinism's claims. I am not a professor or a doctor in any way, but I can go on about all the holes that you guys have in your theories, man. From biology to geology to anthropology, there is nothing you guys say makes sense. I'm sorry, but nothing you guys say makes sense. If I were using the scientific method and I were to observe these things for myself, I would come up with that conclusion. I'm not trying to be critical or mean or or anything like that. But I have to resent people teaching other people what they would consider science, but isn't science, and they're teaching it to people like as if it's the absolute truth, and it can't be questioned. That's the worst thing about it, is that it reminds me of Soviet Russia style indoctrination. You are allowed to question whatever you want, and yet they have these scientists in these universities that will belittle you, go after your faith, slander you if you do not believe in their hack theology or atheism or whatever you want to call it. It's not theology, obviously, because they run from the fact. That's why Jesus died in the first place, because God hates sin and he knows how people act. You only have to read the first couple of chapters in the Bible to realize that man hides and runs away from God because we know how bad it is. We are aware of ourselves. We are self-conscious. But the Christian has to be less about himself and more about Jesus Christ, because then, my friend, you can have there is no more condemnation. You walk righteous. You are in the righteous one. The law is for the sinner, for the people who are criminals, who are breaking the law. You know what I mean? We are not under the law, but it's good that we use the law to show this to other people and be like, see, you're not a good person. Inherently, human beings are not good people. And I think that if you're that naive to think you're a good person inherently, that's just naive, man. You're very naive. You don't have to be a Christian to find fault with it either. Dr. Thomas Nagel wrote a book detailing his reasons, which include naturalism's inability to properly account for the mind. Adamant atheists will tell us that purpose is an illusion, and some claim our only real purpose is reproduction. But we don't live as though that were true. You see how evolutionary psychology is obsessed with death and having it be a process of random events that has no purpose whatsoever. The complete opposite is what Christianity is. It's about life. It's about redeeming and restoring and ransoming you from death. It's also about there is purpose in everything you do. There's purpose in everything, and that's why evolutionary psychology cannot be in the same sentence. If you are a Christian, you cannot believe in this. You're calling Jesus Christ a liar. That's why I think nowadays you got people like Kirk Cameron, you got people like Ray Comfort, you got people like Eric Hovind, because creation is on the rise. Your lies are being unfolded in front of your eyes. You are the emperor with no clothes, and everybody can see that now. You have been hiding behind taxpayer dollar funded hack, quack, hypotheses that aren't even hypotheses. It's just a bad idea. Evolution is just somebody's imagination getting ahead of themselves without having to have any type of real observation involved in it. It just has to do with your imagination that unicorns spring forth out of rainbows, and I fart leprechauns out of my butt. You know what I mean? It's just stupid. How are you going to say that we come from apes? That's just stupid. I don't understand how you can get that type of hypothesis. And that bananas were once flying and they had beaks. Nothing. How are we related to bananas? This dehumanization is what Hitler used to have Jews killed and have it justified, so that everybody could be like, hey, we're a higher being, we're a higher species of people, and we have the right to kill you off because you're getting in the way of progression and all this stuff. Humanism. It's humanism. You see, the world cannot understand this spirituality, though. This is spiritual truth. And I've even heard people say, I don't believe in politics. Well, the government shut down and they closed down Yosemite, and I have a friend that can't go on his, he was supposed to go on a hiking trip to Yosemite as they shut it down. So I have witnesses that the government and politics actually exists, whether you want to believe that or not. Nobody questions the existence of Obama, you know what I mean? That's just stupid to say. So if you don't believe in politics, it's not gonna be easy for you to understand what I'm saying here. So anyways, adamant atheists will tell us that purpose is an illusion, and some claim that only real purpose is reproduction. But we don't live as though that were true. We have birth control and abortion. Our wealthiest, strongest people have the fewest progeny. Are they sabotaging the gene pool? Is Octomom more fully realized as a person than, say, Dawkins with only one child? The problem with Darwinianism is that we can't live it out consistently. Do we have hospitals and boast of our sick kids' hospitals? Are such hospitals noble or foolish? If the strongest really should survive, why do we save the weak, infirm, and elderly? Were people justified in sterilizing the disabled? If not, why not? What explains our violently emotional reactions to tragic circumstances? A gazelle eaten by a crocodile is natural. A child eaten by that crocodile is a travesty. We might all recognize the truth of that, but the atheist must explain the difference. If we are just another animal, then why should our fate, even in death, be noteworthy? Ethical problems are important too. We are meat machines, dancing to our DNA, driven by urges that synaptic firings. Some preach such bleak determinism. We don't live as though that were true. We call our ability to reason real. Independent reason only works if we have choice. We know we make choices. We may lack absolute freedom, but we have a range of freedoms within our circumstances from which we make meaningful choices. Jail awaits people who abuse those freedoms, and hell awaits those who, are living in sin and don't want to confess them and ask for forgiveness, man. I mean, it's very obvious when you look in the mirror, man, and you really, I guess you got to be put in jail or you got to be at the end of your rope to really realize these things, and that's a shame for people, but that's the road I went down, I didn't listen to anybody either, but thank God I'm still here, if you're still here, you still got a purpose, you still got there's still a reason for you to be alive, man, and it's just, the evolutionist is going to tell you, well, you're just one more brick in the wall of the machine, you know what I mean? Our lives are so short, we don't ever even fix this perpetual new world order being implemented on us day by day. Obamacare? How about the end of, middle class society? How about the end of, a lot of our freedoms, they're going to use the implementation of having this control of our health care to weed out people who are, politically against them, and that's just how it is. Our moral choices are different in other senses. When decaying atoms, falling trees, or charging bears wound or killed a man, that is a mishap. If a man wounds or kills himself or him, that's violence. Whether humanity is making choices or being affected by outside forces, we treat such interaction as different and special. Why? We consistently live as though humanity is special regardless of race, sex, or creed. It deeply offends us to see people treated like animals. Child neglect and slave trade are outrageous. Even hardened relativists gasp when faced with Auschwitz. We recoil at the large-scale eradication of human life and label those responsible subhuman. But Hitler's plan required the concept of superior race. That's Darwinianistic vocabulary. Eugenics was developed by Darwin's cousin, Francis Galton. It wasn't just the Nazis who embraced it. It was popular among American and European progressives. See for yourself. Go see for yourself. Finally, there's the question of origins itself. Atheism mocks Christian belief in magic, but they invoke time plus chance as their own hocus pocus. But even that hits a roadblock. Natural selection does not and cannot account for the rise of the very first cell. Yeah, that's just stupid. Yeah, keep spending money and one day you'll be rich. You know what I mean? Natural selection doesn't create, it selects. Okay, even some mathematical probabilities models overthrow the evolutionary hypothesis. How about the second law of thermodynamics too? Somehow the evolutionist thinks that if you add energy somehow, it just overwhelms. It's just stupid, and none of it makes sense to anybody who knows what science, how you're supposed to observe it, and what the laws of science are. It's stupid. You cannot just, you know what I mean? Like the energy of the sun destroys everything. Everything tends toward disorder. That's the second law of thermodynamics. You cannot change that. We as human beings are subject to the law of inertia. You know what I mean? Discovered by Isaac Newton. An object in motion stays in motion, and an object at rest stays at rest. We as human beings, we don't like to move anywhere because of the comfort in which we are in right now. Like I right now in this chair, I'm very comfortable. You know what I mean? I'm just comfortable. I don't want to move. But the reason why we don't move and why we're subject to the law of inertia is because of the uncertainty of moving into that place where we're supposed to go, where God is trying to lead us or whatever have you. You guys, you're not above the law of science or the law of God. It's just, that's what the evolutionist thinks. Hey, I can make up anything I want and you have to believe it because I'm arrogant and rude and I don't listen to anybody. Inorganic things do not feed, grow, mutate, or replicate, but all these parts for life allegedly came together, formed a cohesive cell, taught itself to correctly feed, excrete, avoid hazards, and somehow reproduce. It did all those things in a single cell's lifespan. High achiever. And they say we appeal to magic? This has been a brief sampling of a very long list of intelligent objections critics, including atheists of the evolutionary hypothesis, have put forward, calling the science settled, rather than presenting a compelling rebuttal as a cop-out unworthy of real scientific inquiry. You may believe that the last piece of the puzzle will someday make your claim plausible, but many of us find your Darwin of the gaps theory unconvincing. You'll have to take Darwin's blind leap alone. I'm not coming with you. No author's use of Darwinism uses common vernacular synonymous with evolution. So anyways, he's right. Whoever wrote this article, or Wes Walker is his name, you're right, man. Why do we have to adopt a theory that's stupid just because there's a bunch of arrogant, dummies that are behind it that want you to believe it? There's an agenda behind all of this, you guys. And if you guys want to go in and you want to be on that wide road that goes straight to destruction, go ahead and believe everything that you hear. Go and believe every stupid thing that you hear and never observe anything for yourself, man. That's the way everyone goes. I believe everything I hear. Oh, I have no freedom of speech. That's true then. It's only true if you make it true. Just like if you're in a wheelchair, you're only handicapped if you are in your mind, man. Nothing's holding you back, dude. Nothing. Like I'm getting tired of all the weaklings and their talking points and all the stupid weak people think that it's not even that they think, it's just stupid weak people are the ones that are always talking. It's time, and even in the Bible says that we're people who have understanding and wisdom, they're always, they're quiet and they're, they only talk when it's necessary. So right now it's necessary. You need to defend with all your heart and your mind the things that God has put in this world and give glory and honor to him and give him for, Christ's sake, man, give him the glory and the credit for creating all this stuff. It's simple as that. You know, Genesis 1:1. Go read it.